Good evening. I hereby call the planning board meeting of May 8th, 2024 to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Booyah. Welcome, everyone. I will now open the Citizens Open Forum. Anyone would like to join us, speak 5 minutes, please identify yourself and name and address. Seeing no one, I close the public forum. Is anyone going to speak for or against any item in the public hearing? Please stand to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 1 of the agenda, approval of minutes made January 10th. I entertain a motion to approve said minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 10, 2024 for the planning board.
Do we have a copy of the minutes?
It was provided in the agenda
that's-
packets, but
This January 10th
I
pack.
have some for you.
I think I have it. Thank you. A second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say.
Aye.
Aye. All against? Nay. Passed. We have approved the minutes. Next, item 2 is interview candidates for 2 vacant regular positions and 2 alternate of the board. We have discussed this amongst the board, when the board was more full, on how the planning board typically does this. And we're not going to really change our ways. So it's a first come, first served policy that we've always operated. So one person's going to leave here not on the board, but we're going to welcome you to stay in line because that's the way we've operated and pretty much always have. And obviously vacancies occur. I mean, we've been short for several months now, right? I mean, gosh, since December. So one thing about that, though, I am supposed to inform the mayor within a certain period of time that there are vacancies. Well, I didn't know until we came to the meeting that a couple of folks had quit. There's no way I could have fulfilled my duties by informing the mayor, but I'm pretty sure you guys at the clerk's office did.
We just didn't have any meetings anyway for planning board, so.
Yeah, well, you know, I'd have loved to give Dan Saraki a call and tell him we lost a couple of folks, but that's really actually no big deal. But I did reread the planning board charter and I noticed that. I went, oops, I didn't do that. Fire me.
Next time.
So what we have here is 2 applicants that have been in the line since 2022. February 23rd, the first individual is Lynette Kirby. Is Lynette Kirby here today? Would you please come to the podium, introduce yourself, and maybe we'll ask you some questions.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Lynette Kirby. I live in Forest Lake subdivision, and I have lived in Oldsmar since 2015.
2016. Are you currently on any boards?
I am not Oldsmar boards. I'm on 2 nonprofit boards.
Right, church board. And you don't hold any public office in Oldsmar,
I do not.
correct? You're a citizen of Oldsmar and you can vote.
Correct.
Those are the 2 qualifications required of a planning board member. You fit those qualifications. And go Navy. Hey, I'm a Navy vet.
My husband was a corpsman in the Navy.
Yeah?
Yes.
Wow, that's a big deal. I'm through, Lynette. Any other question? Anyone else want a question or has questions?
I'm not, not me.
Interview?
Says you're a business owner. What kind of business?
So that's a little outdated.
Okay.
So for 17 years, I worked for a financial planning firm, and then I call it my sabbatical. I left there, I started a personal assistant business, and now I'm back at the financial planning firm, but I still have my personal assistant business as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what nonprofit boards do you sit on?
I am the president of Everybody's Tabernacle, Inc. in Clearwater. And Everybody's Tabernacle started the Homeless Empowerment Program, so I sit on the board of HEP.
Thank you for that.
And I was just elected, sorry, I forgot for a moment. I was just elected president of Women's Club Oldsmar.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that now.
Yeah.
Just kidding. You won't have any trouble making these occasional meetings. I mean, there are months go by, we don't have a meeting, so.
Now, my only commitment is, let's see, here, Women's Club is the second Tuesday of the month, and my HEP board meeting is the third Tuesday of the month.
Just keep an occasional Wednesday open.
I can do that.
All right, everyone want to send, I entertain a motion to send Lynette's name to council, because they have the final say.
Okay?
This is just kind of an informal, hi, you know who we are, we know who you are. They're the ones that make the final decision.
Okay?
Now, hopefully, the mayor won't make you dance. I heard that story last night from Steve Graber on the comments. You hear that? That was cute. So, may I entertain a motion to send Lynette's name up for approval of the planning board regular member?
I make a motion, we send Lynette Kirby's name to the board for approval.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, good luck with the council.
Thank you.
All right, February 26, 2022. Stephen Artie Caldwell. Enter and sign in, please. I suppose you live at 1910 Montego Court, so
I do.
you
I
probably don't need to
I
tell
live
us.
on the
that.
west side over there, so, yes.
So I see you're a design engineer, and you've been trying to get on this board for a while. You've
Have.
applied to other boards, right?
No, I have not. I figured my past knowledge would work best on this board, so even though I was asked to join the city council and run for the open positions up there, I declined that in favor of this one.
Very good. Well, we make decisions based on information provided us by the planning department. So, and our approvals of ideas or items that come to us are used for our intelligence, logic, and ability to make a decision.
Yes,
Very few of us are professionals. And we operate kind of from information we're given and our sensibility on how to send it forward, so.
understood.
And
Hopefully I'll be able to-
I'm not a trained planner, I just have Oldsmar at heart,
Yes.
so. Very good. The board, questions?
Have you done any work for the city of Oldsmar?
Actual work for
As
the
as
city of
a
Oldsmar?
designer or engineer?
As a designer, no, I have not. I have done some work for Mayor Saraki, however, so,
That's okay.
so, I guess that counts, maybe.
That sounds good.
You're not currently serving on any other boards or don't hold any position?
No, I'm not.
Which are criteria in the code, so. No other questions? Entertain a motion?
Yeah, make a motion, we send,
Steve Artie Caldwell.
Steve
You go by
Artie
Artie?
Caldwell's name
Either
up
one's
to-
good.
To the,
Well, let's see it in parentheses.
to the city council.
I second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Good luck, sir, with the council.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming by. All right, what do we have here? February 10th and January 28th and January 15th,
January 15th first.
in order. Sandy Kahn. Hello, Sandy.
Wait a minute, January comes before February.
This is,
You want me to say?
you're right. And, hey, I know it's my birthday. Well,
You've got 2 in January, then you have February.
so actually, Sandy, you're the one that's not going to make the board by dates.
Sorry.
First come, first serve rule. So. Actually, we haven't had any, this is it, 5 applications since, last 2022. So Anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
We all help each other.
Joseph Santana.
Hi, Board.
Hi.
Hi. My name-
We have your address here. I guess you need to state it for the record.
My name is Joseph Santana. I live at 431 Tangerine Drive. I have been living in Oldsmar for about 3 years. I'm a local real estate agent. I currently serve on the Parks and Recs Board for the city. Once they opened up, said that you could apply for other boards, I was very eager to join the planning board. So here I am.
Yeah, that is a rule change. You can be on more than one board, but I was on the Board of Adjustment and this board at the same time years ago. I just quit the Board of Adjustment. So you don't have any position in the city, official work for the city,
No.
right? So
Correct.
you've been in Oldsmar how long?
About 3 years, going on 4.
Oh, a new guy.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
And what do you do, sir?
I'm a real estate agent.
You said that?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't say that in the list. That just went right over my head because realtors on boards. Okay, any other questions of Mr. Santana?
No questions. Joe's a neighbor of mine. I know him very well. I
And Bob and
highly
Alice.
recommend him. Yeah.
It's funny how this whole neighborhood of yours is in this room tonight.
Well, we're trying.
See, we're all neighbors. Bob's just trying to run things around
I
here.
don't know if that's
I mean,
coincidental or not.
Do it like fun.
Well, let's say that would be me and Ross and Joe, and that's all of us, isn't it? There's only 3 of us. It's not a majority yet.
That's right, Bob, tell
The
him.
Car Wash Club.
Oh, no. No.
I love doing that. All right, I entertain a motion to send Mr. Santana's name up the ladder.
I make a motion to send Mr. Santana's name up to the council for approval for the planning board.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Indicate you approval by saying aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Opposed, nay. Good luck, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. January 28th. Villafana, Jessica Villafana.
Yes, you did. Good evening. My name is Jessica Villafana, and I guess I'm a neighbor of Bob and Joe's. I'm at 407 Tangerine Drive.
That's a majority.
And I've been a resident of Oldsmar since 2002. So been on Tangerine Drive for quite a while now. And I am a casework coordinator for Baycare Health System.
Thank you.
Basically, I assist people who are unable to pay their health bills. And so I spend a lot of my day looking at policy and procedure. And that kind of thing, I guess I'm a nerdy girl. That kind of thing interests me. So that's why I
Women's Club.
I'm also the treasurer for going on my 8th year for Women's Club of Oldsmar.
That's it.
And I was just appointed as an alternate on the city's code enforcement board. I haven't been to the first meeting yet. I think the first meeting's coming in July.
Two boards, two people, two boards.
2 boards.
Very good. I don't have any questions for you.
Nope, not here.
Anybody else?
No question.
I entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we send Ms. Villafana.
Yeah, you said it right.
To the city council for approval for planning board.
Second.
Second, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, good luck.
sir.
Okay?
All right.
Now, I apologize for getting you out of order, Ms. Khan, but stay engaged, please. We will keep your name here. Something always happens, so I appreciate your interest. Thank you. Therefore, I close this proceeding of agenda item 2. Moving on to agenda item 3, case number CA -04, City of Oldsmar Flood Ordinance Amendments. Good evening, Tatiana.
Good evening. Tatiana Childress, City of Oldsmar Planning and Redevelopment Director.
Oh, now we know our password.
If only you could see it.
Incorrect password.
She doesn't even know it. Do you want me to help you with that?
This never happens.
You made her nervous.
Mr. Chair, while Tatiana is trying to remember her password, just wanted to, for the record, the first two individuals were recommended for the regular members.
Correct.
And the last two for the alternate.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Judge by date of application.
Gotcha.
That planning board system is very simple.
Okay, so we have a brief presentation here. So again, this is case 2304, City of Oldsmar Flood Ordinance Amendments and Revisions to the previously adopted Florida Building Code Technical Amendments pertaining to floodplain management, aka flood ordinance updates. Just a little bit of kind of like a background and overview why we have this flood ordinance. So City of Oldsmar joined the National Flood Insurance Program in 1971. And since 1971, we've been referring to as the participating community. So participating communities agreed to Title 44 of the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR, which specifies minimum requirements for structures protected under the NFIP. And those communities that exceed the minimum requirements are rated by FEMA in the community rating system, the CRS system, and receive flood insurance discounts. Today, we have over 2,000 verified points, and City of Oldsmar is a Class 6, as indicated on that chart. So the more points you get, the lower your class, and the higher the premium on the flood insurance. You can get up to 20% insurance premium reduction when you're Class 6. So if you look at your declaration page from the flood insurance, you should see community discount in the parentheses, and there should be some kind of like discount dollar amount associated with it. So the regulations that meet or exceed the minimum administrative and technical requirements are adopted through the City of Oldsmar Floodplain Ordinance. And this is the ordinance that we're going to be amending tonight. A little bit background on the 50% FEMA 50% rule and cumulative, since this is the main change that we're going to be discussing tonight. So starting in 2013, so those higher technical standards, the ones that we're exceeding on, so the cumulative is one of the items that is kind of like one of those that we're exceeding, for which we're getting extra CRS points. But starting in 2013, as part of the higher regulatory standards, the city adopted and enforced the cumulative over the 15-year time period. And this cumulative is applicable to existing structures that are constructed below the base flood elevation. Any improvements made on such structures shall not exceed the allowable 50% value of the structure over the period of 15 years. So basically, we keep track of all of the permits cumulatively for the last 15 years, or since 2013, since that's when it was implemented. And improvements that exceed the 50% of the value of the structure would require that structure to comply with all current flood regulations. In other terms, you would have to elevate the structure, probably. Basic rule for structures constructed below BFE: if the cost of building improvement or the cost to repair the damage exceeds the 50% of the market value of the building, it must be brought up to current floodplain management standards. The map here indicates special flood hazard area for Oldsmar that was adopted in 2021 based on the new FEMA. And as you can see, that the pink here indicates areas that are subject to flooding, so and where the flood insurance will be required. And we have a lot of residential homes in that area, and a lot of those homes, unfortunately, are constructed below the base flood elevation. And that's due to the maps, the FEMA maps that were available in since 1971, they changed. So we had a pretty significant change, if you recall, in 2021 when the map changed from, we used to have AE9, elevation 9, to AE11. So the 2-foot difference, and in some instances along Shore Drive East, we had some other changes like VE 14, 16, so that was even more, and used to be again AE9. So If you recall, during our last meeting here, we discussed cumulative, and we had a direction from board members to discuss with council how this could be reviewed against other municipalities, compared with other municipalities, to make it a little bit easier on for our residents to improve the homes, to basically to maintain any repairs. So city staff, including our floodplain and building coordinator, Mandy Clark, we did some substantial research on this item. So Mandy put together this fancy table that I will come back later, that is comparing all of the municipalities and their cumulative. On this slide, we have the proposed amendments. So what we're doing here is we're reducing the cumulative years for substantial improvement from 15 years to 5, and reducing the allowable percentage of market value from 50% to 49%. Removing the 25-foot setback requirement for new buildings beyond the reach of mean high tide in coastal high hazard area in coastal A zones. Updating definitions in section 6.14, including abbreviations for the Florida Building Code. And reducing the allowable percentage of market value for substantial damage, substantial improvement to 49%. Technical amendments to the Florida Building Code, referencing definitions for substantial damage and substantial improvement. And amendments to section 6.16.6 of the Florida Building Code, residential, for clarity on enclosure and construction standards in coastal A zone. All of these items, we run them by code, by section 3.13.2, standards of approval, and no amendment shall be approved unless it adheres to all of the following standards. I will read the standards in the record, and then we'll discuss each item. So the first is the amendment complies with the comprehensive plan and advances the purpose of the land development code. The amendment will contribute to promote the community's welfare, and the amendment will not grant a special privilege to an individual property owner. So as I mentioned, Mandy Clark reviewed other municipalities, and we come up with this table for all of the 22 municipalities in Pinellas County. You can see from this table that most of the neighboring municipalities have the cumulative set at 0 or 1 year. Only a few of them, they have at 5, including Largo, Bel Air Beach, and City of St. Pete. And then only 2 municipalities, Indian Rock, Indian Shores, and Safety Harbor, they have cumulative standards at 10 years, and Safety Harbor has a lifespan. So lowering the percentage to substantial, so only 2 of these other municipalities have some, actually only 1 has something higher, because Oldsmar used to be 15, now we're changing it to 5, so only 1 had it higher set at Safety Harbor, used to be a lifetime. So we're also proposing to lower the percentage to substantial improvement to 49% from 50. So today the threshold is 50% of your market value. So we're changing it to 49%. By doing this, we're providing extra assurance that within that 50% threshold, there will be any kind of like unexpected construction expenses during the construction. They always come up, and for people that are trying to maximize their project and they're doing like 49.5%, I'm still under 50% rule. So to eliminate something like this, we're keeping it at 49%. In addition to this, for keeping it at 49%, we're gaining some CRS points, those CRS points that we discussed at the beginning, that the more points we get. So we're losing a couple of points when we change it from 10 to 5, but we're gaining a couple of points, a few points, up to 20 points actually, when we're reducing it, the substantial improvement from 49% to 50% threshold. And Mandy can explain this in more details if I confused some of you with this. All other amendments that are on the list, we call them housekeeping items. They're more like a laundry list. So these were included in collaboration with and during the review of the ordinance by Florida Division of Emergency Management. So we have a consultant who's reviewing this ordinance. The representative to ensure that clarity and consistency with the state floodplain model ordinance. So we do have a state of Florida floodplain model ordinance that we have to follow. And recently they made some changes to that ordinance. So all of those amendments to the coastal A, they're just placing them in a different section of the code, and it's all described in the staff report, how we're not making any changes. You already approved it. We already voted on this. We're just moving it from one section to the other for clarity and also for compliance with that model ordinance. The only other item here was the 25-foot setback, and that item is already addressed in our zoning ordinance, and that could be subject to a variance, zoning variance. So while we're going through a variance on the zoning level, we don't want to go through the variance on the floodplain coordination. So, and by following the floodplain model ordinance, the state ordinance, it just says that it needs to be, the structure needs to be landward of that coastal high tide. So we're not actually removing it just for consistency with our zoning ordinance. So we're not in violation of any kind of like state flood plain ordinance or anything. So it's just basically for consistency with the code application. And with that, based on the above discussion, staff recommends approval of the flood ordinance amendments and revisions to the previously adopted technical amendments to the Florida Building Code pertaining to floodplain management as proposed. Thank you. Have any questions?
Yes, the comprehensive plan that they're discussing they did the first reading last night.
The second reading was
it
of all of the
was it
ordinance.
second reading?
The second reading, so
This would go into that, any of this would go into that plan, right?
this would not.
No? Okay. I don't have any questions. Thank you for putting this together, because it was important for us to, and you guys followed through on it. Thanks.
Sure, you're welcome.
Any questions for Tatiana?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
So it appears that by lowering the cumulative years, somebody could update 49% of their house, and then in 5 years do another 49% without having to update to the newest code. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
But if we did require them.
So the codes, when you mention the codes, they would still have to meet all of the Florida Building Code construction standards. It's just elevating some of those existing structures that are slab on grade. They won't be able to elevate it. They won't be able to make the improvements over 49%, because if they do, it would trigger for them to elevate that structure, basically. So it's not just for codes. So Florida building codes, like all of your standards, design standards, are still in place.
Right.
So those, not to confuse those.
Right.
But they would be able to complete one project maybe, and after 5 years, complete another project. The other reason why we're doing this is the increased cost of construction. So if you look at the cost of roof replacement or AC replacement, they're becoming more and more substantial. So for regular maintenance items like your roofs, AC, your windows, your doors, you're really looking at, okay, I can't really do this for another 15 years, but it is putting a lot of people into a position of not being able to maintain their own homes. So
I wish we had some more people to talk about how they feel about it, because I'm wondering I'm pondering whether, if requiring them to upgrade to the new code, would that put us in the higher level on the insurance class where we get a bigger discount?
not necessarily, because as I mentioned, so by lowering that to 5 years, from 15 years to 5, we're losing 20 points, up to 20 points, because they have like this weird formula that you have to follow. So you can get up to 20 points for enforcing your 15-year cumulative, if you can demonstrate that you have a good record of this. But we're gaining those 20 points by reducing the threshold from 50% to 49%. So it's a net zero, so we're not losing any points with the CRS.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Lowering it from 15 to 5 years, I think I was one of the ones that, I might have been one of the ones that suggested that, which is fine. And I'm all in favor of that. I thought I heard you say something about we would check the building permits of the property to check whether or not we meet this. Did I hear you say that?
The cumulative, what the cumulative means, it's the cost of your project, that is associated with a particular permit. So the way we keep track of all of those cumulative items is by adding the permits for the last 15 years. So
Permits,
now it's
okay.
going to be the permits, the permit cost, not the permit itself, the permit cost of a particular project.
That's the way I understood it, and I have a problem with that because last year I put a fence in, and we ran into quite a few situations.
So the fences will be excluded from this? These are only,
I'm going beyond the fence.
Okay.
The fence was the catalyst. The fence was the catalyst for looking into my property. I've lived in my house for 43 years. The catalyst of the fence was looking into my property for a lot of things, flood, everything. We started looking at the permits over the years. I put in 3 air conditioners, only one permit showed up. I put in 2 roofs, only one of them showed up. I had already put in 2 fences, none of them showed up. So I'm concerned about the system that you're talking about keeping up with it. I'm not sure that it's going to be accurate based on my experience and my experience alone.
we try our best with our permitting system. So any permit that comes through our door or is being caught by the code enforcement, Mandy initiates the 50% review, so flood review is being initiated, and she looks at all of the records. So I'm not sure why some of them were not showing. Maybe
Well, I mean,
depends on the contractor.
I mean, I know.
And we're only looking, so maybe we're also only looking since 2013, and in some instances, so if you're in Harbor Palms, so Harbor Palms, most of those homes, they were actually conforming homes up to 2021. So we would not even look past 2021 if you were Harbor Palms, because those homes, they were built up to the AE9. So elevation 10 would be most of those homes, they would meet the old maps at elevation AE9. It's
Yes.
when the maps changed. So it's since 2013, the cumulative is since 2013 for those homes that were already non-conforming prior to 2021. Or it's any homes past 2021 that became non-conforming due to the map change. So in your instance, we're only going to be looking at 2021 or when the structure became non-conforming. So if we go through another map revision and some of the homes that are in compliance today, you can do improvements without, 50% threshold. But if we go through a map revision and our maps go up again, so those homes then will be included as well. So it's not, how should I say? It's on an individual case. We review these one at a time. So there's no something that's applied to everybody. Obviously, the flood ordinance is for all special flood hazard area, but we start with the elevation certificate. So how do we determine if you are subject to the 50%? Well, first of all, we'll look at the flood maps. So the most current FEMA maps, we're trying to check, okay, are you in the flood zone or are you outside of the flood zone? Unless you're in Bay Arbor or some of those other subdivisions, if you're on this side of Tampa Road, so you're probably in the flood zone, and you're probably non-conforming since 2021. So then we ask, do you have an elevation certificate? Some people may not have those because they were conforming prior to 2021, so they ask what that elevation certificate might be. We actually had copies of the elevation certificates. I think we forgot them to bring to a show to demonstrate to you. Just any surveys that were done after 2017 in the flood zone, they should have the elevation certificate attached to their survey, and you would find them within your title documents. Also, surveyors are required to upload them to the state database, and the county keeps them as well. So we check and see if the structure is non-compliant. Then Mandy initiates if she finds that the structure is in below BFE, the base flood elevation. Then she initiates the review, and that review will be either from 2021 or 2013, whichever one is. Yes.
So, okay. I'm
But-
thoroughly confused now.
That
Our permitting system is,
information's on the Pinellas County property appraiser's site, right?
So the
No,
permits,
they're not,
The
because
permitting information.
I've looked, I looked. And
Mine's intermittent too, so I didn't.
Yeah.
figure-
some of them are not there, but if you wanted to, we can look through our program, ADG. We're still using ADG, and we can find if a licensed contractor pulled a permit through, we can find them on
think
our
we-
side. Mandy can
I
maybe
think we did go
help.
through your program, didn't we?
Just because I have experience with
Okay.
So, we had a system for, oh, sorry, Mandy Clark, floodplain, hello, board. We had a system in which monthly we would provide the property appraiser with that information. Unfortunately, at some point during my last 10 years, I realized that some of those permits weren't being captured, so they weren't getting a full, complete list, which is why you'll see sometimes if you look up a property permit, may be missing from there. As far as our system goes, prior to a certain date, it sometimes will not locate those, but I'm talking old, you're going back like decades and decades with that issue. Most of the time, you'll find that if we don't have a permit on record, the contractor probably didn't attempt to pull one, which happens more frequently than you would like, so.
I suspect that more often than not. They
Yeah.
tell you they do, but
Well, no, every time and I've been, like I said, I've been in my house for a long time, so I've done an awful lot of, upgrade, et cetera. And every time that I wanted to do something, I always called and said, do I need a permit for this? Do I need a permit for this, And a lot of times I'm told, no, you don't need a permit for that. Go ahead and do it. As a matter of fact, the first time I put a fence up, I saw the permit. I remember that. They got the permit. The second time, I said, I need to replace my fence. It's falling apart, et cetera, and so forth, and so I'm just gonna replace my wood fence. Do I need a permit? No. Okay, good. So I hired some guys, they came out, they started working on it, and next thing you know, somebody from the city of Oldsmar drove by and said, where's your permit? So I said, I love you. Said, I was told I didn't need one. So the bottom line was, then they finally said, oh, if you were just replacing a few planks, you wouldn't need one. But since you're replacing the whole fence, you need a new building permit. Well, that's not what I was told, but that's okay if that's it.
Right, some of that
I
is-
personally applied for and paid for the permit. And it's not on the Pinellas County, and it wasn't on, your records, when we checked it when I was putting this other fence up. So, that's what's, it's just.
We could look into it again. I mean, the database throughout years, if information was transferred from one to another, things could get.
is this one-off, Bob, or is this a systemic problem in the city?
Well, I don't know.
Otherwise, you're soapboxing.
What I'm concerned about is what I've seen so many times in my career. A mistake costs you money. A mistake costs you time. A mistake costs you something else. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about this cumulative cost. All of a sudden, somebody saying, "Oh, well, you owe another $10,000 now." So, and that's what I'm worried about
Or
because
Tim
I've seen
Jacobson
it.
knocking on your door.
Huh?
Or Tim Jacobson
So-
knocking on your door, yelling at you.
Yeah, true.
Right,
So
so
we're
in
just
this
going
instance,
back
we're
20 years.
actually, instead of saying like, oh, we're tracking these for 15 years, which may or may not be possible due to some of those things, we're actually reducing it and making it more manageable
I understand, yes.
by staying within the decade,
Yeah, and I like that. Like I said, I like that, but I'm just still worried about, Of course, I do also realize that, in order to meet this 50% or this, if you wanted to put a second floor on your house, you'd probably meet it right away, But if you want to do like we've done it over the years, you're probably not going to ever meet it because of the value of your house is going up. So I don't, it gets very, very complicated, and my little mind can't work around
I would be
a lot
more
of
than
it.
happy to meet with you at any
Yeah.
point if you want to actually go through it. But yeah, the reduction in the years does help with some
Yes.
of that
Yeah,
tracking.
That's
issue.
obvious, and I'm for that 100%. I'm for that. I'm just, like I said, I'm just real concerned about the record keeping. That's what I'm concerned about.
Thank you. Does the board have any other questions for staff?
No question.
No? Then,
Hey, one other question.
run with it.
The 50%.
49.
You want to reduce it to 49, and I understand you say that we'll get points for that. I understand that. Again, based on my own experience of federal contracting, I mean, I've contracted with OWCP, Longshore, Post Office, Social Security, you name it in the federal government, I've contracted at some point in my career. I don't like the idea of going outside of their regulations. Their regulation is 50%, right? FEMA's regulation is 50%, right?
The minimum threshold
Yeah,
is
right,
50.
right, it's
So
50%.
then you have an option to reduce it, and based on the reduction, they actually, you gain points. So they appreciate that you're reducing that 50%.
Well, but
so-
you gain points, but then, never mind.
so
I get very.
it's a reward point, so they reward you basically with the points for reducing it to keeping it 50 is like a minimum threshold. So if you look at this table right now, so Pinellas County is also doing the 49%, and for consistency with Pinellas County to be in line with them during our review. So it's also going to simplify because we are doing here on our end the flood review, and Pinellas County is also looking at it during the Florida building review. So it's all going to be consistent on that as well.
All right, I'll shut up.
Do you have anything else for us, Tatiana, on this item?
No.
No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion to send case number CA 23004 to the council.
I'll make a motion for case CA 23-04 to go to City Council.
As presented.
As presented.
Thank you. All in favor?
Mr. Chair?
Oh, a second, please. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Seconded.
Glad we keep the others straight. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
3-1, motion passes with one dissenting vote. Still passes though, right? Good for you.
well, you know,
All right, item number 4 on the agenda is the City Oldsmar 2023 concurrency report, packet page 35. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. I'm Matt Jackson, the Planning and Redevelopment Department Principal Planner. And the purpose of tonight's agenda item that I'm going over is to provide a summary of the 2023 concurrency test statement. So for background, the intent and purpose of concurrency is to ensure that public facilities and services needed to support development are available concurrent with the impacts of such development and to ensure that development will not degrade the level of service. An annual submittal of a concurrency test statement by the Planning and Redevelopment Department to the city manager is required by Section 11.2.2.2 of the Land Development Code. The statement, after review by the Planning Board, shall be conveyed to the City Council for adoption by resolution. The statement provides the expected impacts of approved developments on the city's public facilities and services in the remaining capacities. The following list includes public facilities and services for which level of services standards have been adopted or best management practices established. Transportation facilities, potable water, sanitary sewer, solid waste, parks and recreation, and drainage. The next 2 slides, I'm just going to go over a couple of the 2 main developments that were either completed or under construction. The first is at 201 South Bayview, right around the corner for Bayview Consulting. The site area is just over half an acre, or just 0.52 acres, I apologize. Has a building area of 3,865 square feet and 13 parking spaces. And included is the site plan there. Also, we have at 430 Racetrack Road, OL Products. It's currently under construction at the 7.56 acre site, a 50,000 square foot warehouse building with 138 parking spaces. Regarding water and sewer, the city has 5,671 potable water connections with an average daily use of 1.443 million gallons per day, and the capacity used is at 69%. The city has an average daily use of wastewater of 1.723 million gallons per day and a capacity use of 76.6%. The city also is a co-applicant with Pinellas County for the stormwater management permits, for which the drainage plan requirements provide for the adequate disposal of stormwater and protection of adjoining properties from damage due to stormwater runoff. All building permits are reviewed for compliance with the city and South Florida Water Management District standards as applicable. Regarding transportation, the main point on this is not much has changed since last year. I do want to point out, though, for that section of Forest Lakes Boulevard between Pine Avenue to Hillsborough County line, while the slide reflects and the information reflects 2 lanes divided, it's 4 lanes divided. I brought this to the attention of Pinellas County. They are adjusting this information, and we'll have that adjusted for the next year's report, but that roadway level of service will, I'm sure, move from an F to a better grade. Regarding transit and truck routes, this is the same as last year. We have the fixed route, Route 67, as well as Route 812. What's wonderful about Route 812 is it will pick passengers up in a smaller bus up to 3/4 of a mile from the route and take them to specific locations such as shops at Boot Ranch and Westfield Mall. Parks and Recreation, not much has changed since last year. However, when putting the presentation together and getting this information from Parks and Recreation, I'm just really amazed and thankful for a municipality of the size to have so many options available and such a varied list. I think it's a great benefit to the city. Regarding planning cases, we had 4 site plan amendments, 1 zoning change, 1 development agreement, 2 administrative replats, a conditional use site plan, and 8 variances approved. With that, we are recommending that the City Council adopt the 2023 concurrency test statement in accordance with Land Development Code Section 11.2.2.2, concurrency test statement and monitoring system. With that, that's the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. There was a piece of property off of north of Douglas Road, maybe it was north of Forest Lakes. I think there were some borrow pits up there that were supposed to be lakes. You know about that? They're very near the power highline easement.
I know what areas you're discussing, but is there anything specific to maybe the concurrency test that you're asking about, or what?
Well, it's in Parks and Rec map, and it's within, let's see, what are we saying here? The department maintains all parks, visitors, working order, 200 parks and land, connected trail system, Parks and Rec, no longer found every Parks and Rec map, budgeted for the following. Well, I don't think we're budgeting for the following of this potential park that I thought was going to be developed. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but if you would like, I can follow up with the director of
Have you ever
Parks
heard a rumor of land up there that was available for Park Twin Lake? I think you have to walk there right now, but I don't know if you can actually access it.
I don't, but I'm happy to.
Well, I might go rattlesnake hunting up there just to find this place, because I heard Jerry Beelan talking about it one night. Mr. Simpson, you know about this place, this mystery park that happened?
It's beautiful. You can't get to it. We don't have a way to access it.
we can only use the Duke power line, like easements to
Yeah.
get to it, so there's not a good public way to get there. There's also no water or sewer that services it, so it's just kind of a preserve land that nobody can get to.
Is there a path, do you know? I mean, can citizens go there and explore, or is it
No.
off limits?
There's no, until we can get water and legal access, like we can go, because we have an agreement with
Right.
city vehicles to go back there, but until we can get that, it's really,
And we have no
A
plans to do
non-starter.
that at this time? That's what we need, is another park.
the water issue, we have some strategies that we've talked about. Like, there's a parcel that if they redevelop, we can get them to bring the water to a certain point. We can go more easily get it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The roadway part is still a challenge. But
Okay.
if we can get, I think the water is our first step. Because, if there's fire or anything, we need to be able to
Right.
treat it.
I just don't want it to like disappear on us, kind of like the trees next to the library are gonna disappear on us.
Well,
right,
I mean,
thanks.
it's a preserve, and there's no plan to develop, but, so.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions on the concurrency report?
No question.
No question?
No questions.
Okay, I entertain a motion, thank you very much. Nothing else? I entertain a motion to send the concurrency report to,
I do have one question, just one.
sure, I mean,
Um,
you almost got too late.
No.
I almost grabbed that gavel.
I know you did. Forest Lake Boulevard is an F road. How long has it been an F road?
I don't have that exact number of years. So in my tenure, which has been about a year here.
Yeah.
It's been an F road, not for that section over in the Pine area where they, have 4 lanes, but the other section that you're talking
Right.
about. I'm happy to research that information, and I can get that to you.
No, I just wanted to make sure that it was an F before this. And I think you just answered my question.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there anything below an F? Because Linebaugh fits that.
US 19.
Okay, back to where I was before. Are you done, Bob?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. I entertain a motion to send the concurrency report to City Council.
Make a motion, we recommend approval of the concurrency report to City Council.
Second, please.
Second that motion.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, motion passes, 0 against. Anybody have any comments or discussion from the board this evening?
I think I've
Gonna
commented
get a little
enough.
busy the next meeting with a full group.
Yeah, how about that?
New placards to figure out where you're gonna sit. That's it then, right? All right, I call for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.